We are live. Welcome, gang, on this Sunday evening, March 22nd. And I should know the date very well because I'm going to start off with a big shout out to my lovely wife who's celebrating her birthday today. And if you guys are wondering why in the hell is he doing a live podcast on his wife's birthday, she's working tonight. So, that's why. Otherwise, I would be spending time with her. So that's what it is. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking a little bit of Dolphins football here with Dante Colonelli, who has a little bit of an announcement to make or things to say. But before we get to that, I do want to start on a very, very sad note, but I do want to give my acknowledgement. If you've been following social media on Sunday, you probably have heard or read by now the heartbreaking story of the NHL.com writer covering the Minnesota Wild, Jesse Pierce, who tragically died in a house fire along with her 3 young children. I had some interaction with Jesse during the time I was covering the Florida Panthers for NHL.com, in addition to my work covering the Dolphins. And I can tell you she was just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful human being, always incredibly pleasant, could not have been nicer. Very, very dedicated to her craft and all that. Condolences go out to her husband, Mike. Absolutely brutal. But I did want to acknowledge her. Just again, let me be the one of many who have just pointed out publicly just a wonderful person Jesse Pierce was. R.I.P. As I mentioned, now I'm gonna move it over to Dante. Dante, who unfortunately will be doing his final podcast with me on the All Dolphins podcast, and Dante is about to explain why. If you have not been following on social media, Dante, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so figured I'd have my swan song on the Sunday live show, which is obviously exciting. But I am taking a job at a company called Scoreability here in Austin, Texas, where I just moved to around Thanksgiving. So I've only been here a couple months. And so I decided to take a job there, and I'm going to help them build out a product for athletes and their families to help them navigate the NCAA recruiting and NIL process and all of the crazy amounts of red tape that comes with that. And so I'm going to, as generically as I can talk about, I'm going to help with that. And I am truly excited. But I am also very, very sad because I love coming on and talking ball and doing all of that. And it's been a joy to write for the site for the past 4 years. It really just has been awesome. So thank you to anyone who has listened, anyone who has ever clicked on one of my articles. I really appreciate it. It meant the world to me. And if you're interested in following my content, I am still going to produce some NFL draft stuff. I'm still going to produce some Dolphins stuff. I have a Substack called The Casual Draft Analyst that I've used kind of on and off for the past, 4-ish years now. And I'm going to put some Dolphin stuff on there, probably starting this summer. I'm going to start a new vertical right now. I'm just kind of focusing on the draft. And obviously, if you're a Dolphins fan, I think you should be very interested in the draft stuff. Got a lot of picks this year. But so if you want to follow me there, the link will be in my Twitter bio, or you can just search The Casual Draft Analyst on Google, and I'm sure it'll pop up. But truly, it's been awesome hanging out with you and all this stuff and getting to write about the team for the past 4 years. Has truly been a privilege. And I'm excited to continue doing it in some way, but also very, very excited about this new opportunity. It's a really cool job at a really cool company. And just, so again, thank you, Alain. Thank you, commenters and everyone. It's been awesome. Excited to kind of talk ball together one last time here.
And I'll save the trouble for all the smart Alex out there. Yes, Dante, that was just a BS story. He just got sick of working.
There we go. There we go. Did I at least sell it? Was my acting job
actually, you got me a little choked up there for a second. Almost had me buying it. But we kid. There are 2 little segues we can do here. By the way, welcome to the All Dolphins podcast live episode here for this Sunday, March 22nd. Thanks for all of you who are joining us. Hopefully more will come along as we proceed. I know a lot of people may be watching the NCAA basketball tournament. I see Iowa is playing against Florida right now. University of Miami, to keep it semi-local, was defeated by Purdue in the first game of the day on Sunday. There's a Miami Open tennis tournament going on at Hard Rock Stadium, site of the Dolphins football games. But we're here to talk Dolphins, and there are 2 ties to what you mentioned, because you mentioned the draft and the Dolphins having 11 picks. which is the most they've had since 2020, which of course was the big one. And it's funny, I was talking to an old friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a while, who was talking about, the Dolphins and their massive rebuilding and all that. And I said, yeah, we're back to where we were in 2019. And I refuse categorically to blame the Dolphins for the course of action, the game plan they had back then, the strip down they did in 2019, then with all the draft picks in 2020, 2021, and then really going for it by adding all of those big name players, Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb. In the end, they didn't pick quite the right players. The methodology, from where I sit, I'm sorry, they went for it. And if you're a Dolphin fan, isn't that all you can ask for from your team?
Yeah, I mean, I was totally on board with it in the moment, right? Like even as even as an analyst, right? Setting my fandom for the team aside for a second, like as an analyst, I thought it was the right way to go. I think obviously you can look back in hindsight and you can cherry pick certain moves and certain trades and say, hey, maybe they went too far in here or they didn't go far enough in here, whatever you want to do, right? But ultimately, what I think it comes back to, and I'm sure you'll agree with this as well, is I think the failing of that strategy mostly came from the poor draft picks as opposed to the ones that you traded away or illegally tampered away in some cases, right? And so you look at that 2020 draft and you look at Tua, Austin Jackson, Noah Benogany in the first round. Not great.
That's not maximizing your picks.
No, it's not great. And then, you get to 2021, which was the Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips year, which I think two good football players. I think you did a nice job there. But then the kind of flip side, and I'll pass it back to you after this, right, is like, okay, so you get to 2022, you trade all these picks, you don't have a ton of picks. You have to hit on the ones that you have, right? Like the Cam Smith pick really matters because it's the only one that you have in the top 50. Yep. And you miss. Right. And you only get Achane out of that draft. And then you go into 2023 and you have another draft that you don't get really a ton out of it. Right. And so it's kind of difficult to build a team that way when you do go all in, when you do say, screw them picks, to keep it a family friendly show. You have to hit on the ones that you have. And ultimately, this Dolphins group did not. They continued to make mistakes. And you can even go back to when they had a lot of picks. And you can look at the 2020 NFL draft and say, this rebuild got off to a bad start. And so as you parlay this into the upcoming draft, right, it's how do we start better than the 2020 team did, right? And I think, you can split hairs on whether Tua was the right pick or not at the time. I think, Austin Jackson is okay when he's on the field, right? But Noah Benogany's like a total bust. And really, I mean, even the rest of that class wasn't very good, right? You get Robert Hunt, good football player, but Raekwon Davis, Jason Strobridge didn't make the team, or was it Curtis Weaver didn't make the team out of camp? Curtis Weaver didn't make.
I'm sorry. Quick story.
Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but the first time I saw Curtis Weaver at training camp, and I say this with all the respect in the world, and something bad's coming, it was like, just the look of him. If you ever look at a dude who does not look like a football player,
yeah,
I'm like, how the heck? Because he had like big sack numbers at Boise State. I'm like, how the hell did this guy get sack numbers?
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah. And then, but again, like to your point, right? Like that 2020 draft, like, I mean, I think you kind of got like a half hit with Tua. I think you kind of got like a half hit with Austin Jackson. I think you hit on Robert Hunt, but like outside of that, man, you got all those picks and you got a starting guard and an okay quarterback and an okay right tackle. It's not good enough, and they'll have to do better this time.
Yeah, and here's I have the full list memorized. Here's the full list.
Oh man!
Round 1, it was Tua.
Yep.
Austin Jackson, Noah Benogany. We know this. Round 2 was Robert Hunt and Raekwon Davis. Round 3 was Brandon Jones, who was a very good blitzer with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then goes to Denver and becomes a very good safety, period. So this was a more of a develop issue than a draft issue. But Brandon Jones is a pretty damn good player right now.
Yeah.
Round 4 was Solomon Kindley, which did not pan out. The dude was too heavy and couldn't move well enough. Round 5 was Jason Strobridge, who was gone, like he was gone almost before he got here. I think he may have made the initial 53. I'm not even sure. Curtis Weaver, who we talked about. Round 6 was Blake Ferguson, who was a long snapper and was with the team for a few years, but it's a long snapper. And round 7 was Malcolm Perry, who also didn't make much of a contribution. So no, that's not nearly enough for what they have. For those wondering, by the way, in a 7-round draft, the record for most draft picks for the Dolphins is 14. That came in 1997 with Jimmy Johnson, who was always would just go, okay, let me trade up, trade down, trade it down, trade down, trade. I get more picks. He was the master at that, and also brilliant at drafting defensive talent. Didn't work so well drafting offensive players during his time with the Dolphins. So yeah, I think they didn't max out the draft picks nearly well enough. And then the other issue is the free agents that they signed, while high-end players were also very high on the, how can I put this delicately, high maintenance chart. I'm talking about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, were two guys like
the diva scale.
The diva, very high on the diva scale. Bradley Chubb was not that guy at all, but there were injury issues, unfortunately. And again, I've said it before, the stupidity of having him in the game when the Dolphins were down 49-19 against Baltimore with 3 minutes left. To me, that's the most egregious thing the Dolphins have done in the past 5 years. And then Teron Armstead, who was a great offensive tackle for the Dolphins, also had his injury issues as well. The other link that you mentioned it's interesting because you mentioned being in Austin, which is in the state of Texas, which is where the Dallas Cowboys play, which is where we get to those rumblings out of Dallas that they're really, really, really jonesing, as in Jerry jonesing.
Oh,
see what I did there?
Great. Two great connections in a row right there. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
You'll miss those dorky puns, won't you? They're jonesing for a veteran inside linebacker. Supposedly they had their eye on Patrick Queen. Those talks didn't go anywhere. Who's with the Steelers, and now they've shifted their focus to El Shair. Is that his name, from the Houston Texans?
Yeah, Aziz Al Shair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The guy who's always in trouble with the NFL Rules Committee because he plays on the edge, sometimes outside the edge. And then the other name is Jordan Brooks. So how do we feel about this idea of somebody threw out, and there are a couple of scenarios, of course, hypotheticals show up. Somebody threw out Jordan Brooks and the number 30 overall pick for Dallas's first-round pick, which is number 20. To me, I say that's not enough.
Man, so you're trading Jordan Brooks to move up 10 spots in the first round, if I'm understanding that hypothetical correctly, which I personally would not do. And we've talked about this on the podcast before, right? Is like, I'm of the opinion that you can rebuild and have some talented players on the team. I do think that Jordan Brooks, from if you're trying to establish a culture perspective, to me, Jordan Brooks is the type of player that I want in my locker room to establish that culture on defense. And I've never really been like a big rah-rah culture guy, right? But I think that there is something to that in some degree. And so I'll set that aside, though, because we want to talk trade hypotheticals, because that's way more interesting. So if I look at Dallas's picks, they've got 12, 20, and then they don't pick again until 92, and then they have 112 in the 4th round. So they've got San Francisco's 3rd, and then they have their own 4th. Not a lot of ammo here for them to make a deal. If I'm the Dolphins, I got to get at least a day 2 pick worth of value for Jordan Brooks. 10 spots in the first round is not doing it for me. They don't have a 2nd round pick to trade, so I'm almost looking at 92, unless I'm acquiring a 2027 pick in that process. And so, man, that's tough. I don't know. It would have to be like 92 and then a pick next year, maybe, or like 92 and a player that I really like. And off the top of my head, I don't know that I can find one on Dallas's roster, but it would have to be like something like that, where you get that type of really good value for Jordan Brooks, because I think he gives you so much on the field. I mean, he's an all-pro linebacker. He's one of the best top 5 linebackers in the NFL, right? I don't think that's a crazy thing to say based on how he played last year. And And so to me, like that's got to be at least a day two worth of value. And moving up 10 spots in the first round is not going to do it for me. And the Cowboys don't have a second round pick.
Okay, so our friend Noah Crawley suggested Jordan Brooks and the Dolphins' second round pick, which is 43rd overall for number 12. One thing to consider, Jordan Brooks is going to be 29 years old in October. He's also in the final year of his contract, which always plays a part in it because it's got the possibility of being a rental. And look, it's the same thing as it was with Jalen Waddle. It's not that the Dolphins necessarily want to get rid of Jordan Brooks, but he's a businessman like every single solitary NFL player. He's in the last year of his contract. He's coming off an all-pro season. He's going to want some money. Or how much of an appetite are the Dolphins going to want to have to give big money to an inside linebacker who's going to be getting close to 30? He'll be over 30 by the time the main years of the new contract would occur. For a team that's probably not going to contend, certainly not in 2026, maybe not in 2027, and that's always the decision you're going to have to make. And with Jalen Waddle, it was like you can get a 1 and a 3 and get rid of his contract. Easy decision. Brooks is a little bit more complicated because there's only a one more year commitment. And here's the thing: if the Dolphins kind of have an inkling that Jordan Brooks might be difficult to re-sign, get something for him, which leads to speculation. It is interesting as well. The Dolphins got under the salary cap when they traded Jalen Waddle by restructuring the contracts of 2 players. Jordan Brooks wasn't one of them, and he had a contract that was very restructurable. The 2 who were restructured were Aaron Brewer and Devon Achane. So, that suggests something is afoot here.
I mean, maybe, right? Because the idea, based on what I've read about the restructures, right? So they add a bunch of void years, and the idea is that if you extend those players, you end up just wrapping those void years into their extension, right? Correct. So they don't end up mattering as long as you extend those players. The void years basically become real years that you pay out, and you can manipulate the cap, so on and so forth. And so they didn't end up doing that with Jordan Brooks. And so it could be, right, if you're reading the tea leaves, it's, hey, we plan on extending Devon Achane. We plan on extending Aaron Brewer. I'm not really opposed to trading Jordan Brooks for a good value, right, in the same way I wasn't for Jalen Waddle. Was it my preference to keep Jalen Waddle in a vacuum? Sure. But I always said, and this is how the NFL business works, if a team comes to you with an offer that you can't refuse, you don't refuse it, right? So am I shopping Jordan Brooks? No, I'm not shopping Jordan Brooks. But, if Dallas calls me up and it's 4 picks between this year and next year for Jordan Brooks, okay, I'm trading Jordan Brooks then, right? So, that's kind of where it's at. I think Dallas being the team on the other end of this specifically makes this really hard because for me, it would start at a 2nd round pick, and Dallas doesn't have one of those. And so if I can't get that, it makes things a little bit tough. But maybe Jordan Brooks isn't worth the 2nd round pick. Maybe I'm misreading the market because of the things that you said. He's approaching 30 years old. He's going to need a contract extension. A team doesn't want to trade a 2nd round pick for that player, especially at a position like linebacker, which isn't typically highly valued across the league, even though I would argue it probably should be more than it is. But so it's interesting. I think it would have to be the Jalen Waddle thing. If a team offers me something, I can't refuse that pick. Can't refuse the package of picks if it ends up being. Sure, send off Jordan Brooks, but I would say that he's probably worth more to the Dolphins than he is to most teams, just from some of the stuff I talked about earlier, and also the fact that you got to have some talent on defense if you want to build this thing up. You can't just have nobody. And I'm sorry, if you trade Jordan Brooks, in my mind, I mean, Zach Sealer is a good player, kind of had a down year last year. The rest of the guys are like Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant. And and it's okay, if you trade Jordan Brooks off of this defense, I think you already might have the worst defense in the sport. You're really going to have the worst defense in the sport on paper. Maybe they outplay it. I have no idea, but on paper. And so that's worth more. That's worth a lot to me if I'm the Dolphins, to have that guy in the middle, setting the culture, setting the tone, giving us some level of respectability on defense, frankly. But look, like I said, if they get a slew of picks, sure, send them off. I would get it. It would stink, but it's the business of the NFL.
Yeah, to me, it boils down very simply to do the Dolphins see Jordan Brooks on their team, as part of their team, being willing to re-sign beyond 2026? Because if there's some doubt, or if it's a 50-50 deal, again, you say like he's more valuable to the Dolphins. What he's gonna help them get from 3-14 to 5-12.
I think
they're not going anywhere anyway this year. Anyway,
right. I agree with that. I think it's more like, how do you teach the other guys, the young guys in that room, to be the type of football players that this management group wants them to be, right? And again, like, maybe I'm projecting. Maybe Jordan Brooks doesn't vibe with Jeff Hafley. I have no idea, right? I have no clue. But Jordan Brooks feels like the type of player who would be really instrumental in setting the culture and the right example. And if that's what this group always talks about, if they mean it, I think Jordan Brooks can be really valuable there. But to your point, they're not going anywhere this year. This is a rebuilding year. Whether Jordan Brooks is on the field or not, I don't know is going to make a huge difference in the win column. I can't argue with that point at all. And so if they want to get rid of him because they know he's not going to be here long term, sure, I would understand it.
We shall see. And again, the same applies to Devon Achane, where it's going to come down to what are teams offering. He's a lot younger. He's 24 years old, but he plays a position that's got a much shorter shelf life, and he's going to want mucho dinero. But again, it's going to take somebody blowing the Dolphins away with an offer. And I know some Dolphin fans took issue to my saying this, but them leaking that, well, teams have called and, they've been met with, we're not trading him. Take it with a grain of salt. Why? Because it's happened before. To the point where I've even seen like GMs categorically saying, we're not playing that player, and 2 weeks later they trade him. Myles Garrett, I want to be traded. Gets a big, new, fat, juicy contract with the Browns. Oh, okay. I mean, there's a lot of posturing that goes on in the NFL from both management and players. Take things like that with a grain of salt. I'm sorry. This notion you do not take things at face value, it doesn't work like that. So yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be traded. I'm saying if there's an offer that comes along that's good enough, I do not believe he's off the table for a millisecond.
No, of course not, right? Nobody is, really. If it's an offer you can't refuse, you don't refuse it. I would be interested to see what Devon Achane's trade value is, because it's an interesting question, right? Because he is so young. He has proven that he's one of the most explosive playmakers in the sport, right? He's maybe the fastest player in the sport, right? Arguably, I think he'd be up there. He catches, he is a decent target out of the backfield. He runs outside zone. He can do other things. Like he's a very good football player. And I was just Googling while you were talking there, the Christian McCaffrey trade, right? Because that's like the most memorable running back trade of the recent years here. He was sent for a second, a third, and a fourth in 2023, and then a fifth in 2024. Carolina got 4 picks from the 49ers for Christian McCaffrey. I don't think Devon Achane's Christian McCaffrey, personally. So I don't think the Dolphins are going to get a first. I think you'd like to think they could get a second for him, probably. I don't know how much more they get, though, after that, right? Like, is it a 2 and a 4, 2 and a 5? Maybe it's a 2 and a future 3, which is a little bit less value. So I'd be really curious to see kind of where Achane's market is, because I think Dolphins fans have this idea that they're going to get like a Christian McCaffrey type haul, or they're going to get a first round pick for Devon Achane. And look, you never say never, because it's the NFL and people do shocking things all the time. I would be surprised if Achane got more than what the Panthers got for Christian McCaffrey. And at that point, again, it brings me back to the Jordan Brooks question, is like, is Devon Achane worth more to me? And he's younger, right? Long term, is he worth more to me than a second round pick? Probably. Me personally, we'll see where the Dolphins land, or if it even comes to that.
And again, the issue with Devon Achane, to me, the thing that complicates everything is the contract situation. because he's contract extension eligible. I don't need to see a report or hear from an agent that he's approached the Dolphins about wanting an extension. Trust me, he wants an extension. And this is even after, again, I mentioned his contract was restructured, and I found out about this just recently. Were you aware of something called the Proven Performance Elevator?
I was. Yeah.
You were. Good on
was.
you. Good job. See, I was not. I'm gonna school by the young one. I was not. And then I said, because then I had some folks asking me, why is it that when he signed his initial contract, it was 4 years for $5.7 million. All of a sudden, his base salary for 2026 is $5.7 million. It's because of the good old PPE, which for those in per NFL operations, this applies for players drafted from rounds 2 to 7, and there are certain landmarks that if you reach, your salary jumps. I didn't see the numbers in terms of exactly what does what, but there are 3 levels, one of which is, if you play at least, I think it's 65% of your team's offensive or defensive snaps in one of your first 3 years, or a total of 60% over the first 3 years. And then if you make the Pro Bowl, Achane got those 2 things. And then the other one is 60% in all 3 years, which Achane did not, because he played on 43% of the offensive snaps his first year. But anyway, that's how his salary wound up going from one, it was going to be like 1 point something to 5.7, which is a very nice jump. Still, he's going to want more than that for the coming future.
And he's earned more than that for sure, right? Like he's definitely better than, $5 million a year. I just looked it up too. The running back franchise tag's $14 million right now. So that's an option that the team has that probably will go up a bit, but not too much. The running back franchise tag is one of the lower ones. So that is something the Dolphins have in their back pocket if they want to do it. I will be honest, I'll be a little bit surprised if a Packers front office pays a running back. I'll be a little bit surprised, just a bit, not like completely shocked, but just a little surprised.
Although they did go on and sign Josh Jacobs in free agency.
I think that was a different situation though, right? Because like that to them was like a final piece thing, not a part of a rebuild. But I mean, it's a good point, right? Like Josh, when did they sign? How old was Jacobs when he signed his contract? Like 26?
2 or 3 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, he was probably like 26 or 27. So, I mean, I would be fine with extending Achane. I don't know that I don't know that that's the type of move that this organization would make in the process of making a rebuild, right? Like that's my hang up.
And that's an excellent point. Generally speaking, teams that are rebuilding do not sign guys to big contract, which is why Achane being on the move to me is in play until I see a press release saying Devon Achane has signed a contract extension with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be out there for quite a bit. To me, like I said, I don't know that there's anybody on this team who is no such thing as untouchable, but who is almost guaranteed not to be traded outside of Patrick Paul. A, because he plays a premium position. B, because he's only 2 years into his rookie contract, and the Dolphins have him under control for the next 2 years at a very moderate sum. I don't know anybody else who would fit the category of borderline untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have enough talented players to have untouchable players.
I mean,
that's where they're at. That's what happens when you tear the roster down and you trade Jalen Waddle and you cut everyone with a pulse from last year's team. Like that's where they're at right now. So yeah, I would agree. And you just have to hope Patrick Paul keeps getting better, and then it's the easiest extension decision that you could possibly make.
Yep. And again, it's going to be a lot of pain. Certainly for this year, maybe next year. If the Dolphins are going to get where we all want them to go, probably was necessary. They could have running back, maybe try to tweak here and there and all that. All you're doing is, is trying to plug leaks on a sinking boat, and eventually it wasn't going to work. So I think this is the right approach personally.
I agree 100%. They tried to run it back multiple times with that core, and it just the foundation of the house had rot, and so you need to rebuild the house.
I don't concur. Okay, how about we attack the chat? As always, I'm going to go. Donations always help the channel, so those are very much appreciated, and those will always get preference when we do the Q&A, which seems only fair. And we will go to Buddy Dana. Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Tip of the cap to Dante. Good luck in the future.
Thank you, Dana. Really appreciate it. Means a lot. Means a lot.
Dante will do well wherever he does.
Yeah, genuinely mean it when I say I appreciate you guys. Truly, it's been really cool.
Broward Dolphins suggests Alain take random calls from listeners like a radio station. I am taking random calls.
This is pretty close. Yeah.
It's called the chat. See, that way I have some control over what comes over the airwaves, where if I just flat out take calls, I don't have any control, and somebody could start doing crazy stuff that could get me in trouble and not be pleasant for anybody to listen to. So I'm sorry, but you'll have to settle for the live chat. Dave says, "Go to a
big Falcons fan." Dave,
is David? You know, Dave.
I have no idea. I'm just assuming he said "go to." I mean,
go to
stumbled into the wrong place.
Miami to Durham says, "I used to read the Dolphin Digest growing up. I read it when my dad used to get it at the auto parts warehouse that he owned, and when I went off to school, I've had it mailed to me." For those not aware, I wrote for Dolphin Digest and served as assistant editor, and then associate editor, then editor from 1989 through 2021, I want to say it was. So it was a long time, good old days. Miami to Durham says, "I certainly remember his writing from all the way back then. That's when I first got to know his work." I'm assuming you're talking about me. You're talking about little old me?
Definitely not me. I was.
Well, it's either me or Andy Cohen, who are the two main guys. So I'm gonna assume it's me. So
there you go.
Well, hope you like the writing, and hope you like the work. Stephen Wilson says, "Happy to yours and you. You have the same day. Happy birthday to yours and you, to my wife and you. You have the same B-day as my oldest day." Yeah, my birthday is Wednesday. Oldest daughter. Okay. Oh, and our wedding anniversary is Thursday. It's quite the busy week in the Poupart
busy week. Wow.
Yeah. We got Michael, who's a regular. Thank you, Michael. Hi, Alan and Dante. Thank you for the great show. Happy birthday to Alan's wife.
Thank you, Michael.
I will pass it along. Emilio says, "Welcome to Texas, Dante. Congratulations. Wish you the best."
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Been in Texas for a couple of years. I used to live in Houston. Now we're in Austin. So been here for a couple of years.
Max says, "RIP to your friend Poop." Yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal. And then again, to show you what kind of impact Jessie made in the state of Minnesota, she's getting like messages from all like the teams, the National Hockey League, including the senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar. So that tells you when you've done things right in your life, but still brutal. Steven says, "It's been great having you on here, Dante. I hope you can still make time for us once in a while."
I could pop in as a guest every once in a while. Give you guys a jump scare.
It's funny. It'll be like Sully.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Dante.
Thank you.
CD, and I guess that's Canadian Monte. Poop and Dante, what is your honest opinion of Sullivan and his staff?
You have been closer to them than me, so I'll let you go first. My opinion's kind of pulled back from afar as somebody who doesn't get to go to the facility.
Well, here's what I would tell you. Obviously, the guy, John Eric Sullivan, is growing up around the game. His father was a longtime NFL coach, including wide receivers coach for the Dolphins in 2004. And quite honestly, should have been promoted to offensive coordinator when the person they had hired to do the job, Joel Collier, resigned a couple of weeks or months after being hired. Instead, they went to their offensive line coach, who became infamous in Dolphin lore long after that, Chris Furster, whereas Jerry Sullivan had been an offensive coordinator in NFL before with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know why in the world they wouldn't promote Jerry Sullivan, but they didn't. So obviously John Eric Sullivan grew up around football, so he knows his way around that. Grew up, spent a lot of time, over 20 years with the Green Bay Packers, who do things the right way. So he comes in with a lot of credibility, even though he's never been a GM. the way he has spoken has been very, very impressive in terms of laying out his vision, his plan, and all that. Every move he's made so far, I can't say there's one that has left me scratching my head. I think I've basically liked everything. He surrounded himself with a lot of guys with experience. He retained Champ Kelly as interim general manager. Pardon me, is a senior personal executive role. Then got John Robinson, former Tennessee Titans GM, also in a senior personal executive role. So he's got experience around him. If I'm a Dolphin fan, there's no reason not to be encouraged by what this guy could do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I pretty much have liked every move that he's made. Every free agency contract that they've signed has been so small that even the ones that I'm like, I don't know if I like this player, it doesn't really matter, So right outside of Malik Willis, it's just been a bunch of 1-year deals, and so if I don't like that player, they'll probably be gone in a year anyways. Like whatever, you got to fill out the roster with somebody. When I started doing GM research when Chris Greer was fired after the Ravens game in the middle of the season, I talked to some other people who cover the team and just said like, hey, what names do you guys have? I'm going to start my own research and blah, blah, blah. And one of the names I heard back was John Eric Sullivan, right? As a guy who's kind of interviewed and been around the game, like you said. And so I looked into it, and I kind of like the Dolphins, ironically, was like, I really want like a scout in here, right? Like somebody who's going to win in the draft and win in those kind of areas. And that's the profile that John Eric Sullivan has. And obviously we have no idea if he's actually going to be good at that. We have no clue. His first draft is coming up and whatnot. But to your point, I like everything that they've done so far. There's nothing that would point me in the direction that his reputation isn't earned so far. We'll see. He's still got to continue earning it, right? And and obviously every GM misses, every GM hits. It happens. We'll see. But I think you have to be encouraged. They're saying the right things, and I think right now they're doing the right things. Now, I would preface that by saying I think it's pretty easy to do the right things given where they're at as a franchise right now. It's not very hard to cut and trade everybody and sign a bunch of low-level contracts, but they're doing the right stuff. And I think Dolphins fans should be encouraged. I know I am. And looking forward to continuing to see how they operate. I think this draft will be very, very, very illuminating because we've never seen John Eric Sullivan away from the Green Bay Packers. And this will kind of be his first opportunity to be his own person and set his own standards and such.
Yeah. And let me take it back. The one move where it's like, and it's only getting a 7 for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then you had to factor in the caveat that Minkah Fitzpatrick wanted a new contract, and that turned off a lot of teams in terms of what the Dolphins could get, and basically that tells you once Minkah Fitzpatrick wanted a new contract, he basically had no trade value. So not like we're going to ding him for that.
Yeah.
We have another donation here. Randy Rogers. Randy, thank you very much. Just shout out to you saying best wishes, Dante, in all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Randy. Really appreciate it.
Ad Marks with a donation as well. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, let's go back. Oh, no, I'll see. I'd like a shout out for this one here. Hold on. Oh, this actually, you're going to get another plug here. Look at this.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, no, if I can find it here. Oh, no, there wasn't. Sorry, I misread. No, here we go. No. K. Dubé said Dolphin Digest was great. Thank you very much. They're still publishing it, by the way. It's still being published. So check it out if you want. The day 2026 loved Draft Digest as well. I did Draft Digest from 1990 through, I don't know, 2015 or so.
Yeah.
In fact, a couple of years we did a post-draft digest, which we were that's a couple of days after the fact. And now it's being done with the main guy being Ross Tucker. And then this dude over here has been doing some work for this year's edition.
Yeah, I haven't publicly announced that. I just had so much stuff going on. But yeah, if you pick up Draft Digest this year, all of the NFL draft stuff will be done by yours truly. So pick it up. It'll be awesome. Very excited.
Noel said, Noel, who's funny. No, thank you for the donation. Will miss Dante. He will still be your friend, right? Hell no.
Now I just get to be like everyone else. I just get to annoy Alain on Twitter 24/7. I'm no longer his coworker. I just get to tweet him insane things all day.
There you go. No, it was funny too because Omar used to be on the podcast before he went to the Miami Herald, and
Right.
after he left, we did some like funny stuff on social media, and a whole bunch of there's a lot of people who thought we actually had beef with each other. And it was like it wasn't actually.
Just doing a bit.
Jeff said, "Yeah, so very tragic about the hockey story. Our peak condolences can't be deep enough." No,
Yeah.
we don't make it a downer, but it's unfortunately it's it's life and it's brutal. Jeff from Long Island, we never built up the O-line. It's not because they didn't try.
Yes, it was not a lack of trying; it was a lack of picking the right players and signing the right players. I mean, they took some pretty substantial swings at O-line under Chris Greer, especially like even James Daniels was a substantial swing for them. That was a big contract for that group to hand to a guard, right? It wasn't a big contract in the grand scheme of contracts, but for that group to hand that money to a guard, that was a big swing for them, right? Liam Eichenberg, you trade up in the second round, big swing. Jonas Savaianaya, trade up in the second round, it's a big swing. Just didn't work out.
You took Austin Jackson in round 1. You took Robert Hunt, Liam Eichenberg, Jonas Savaianaya, and Patrick Paul in round 2.
Yep.
You signed Teron Armstead, Connor Williams, Isaiah Wynn, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer in free agency. Please do not tell me the Dolphins didn't try to address the offensive line. So again, it didn't all work out. It's not because they didn't try.
Agreed.
Richard says, I think as a fan, we expect competency with this franchise. Sure.
You should expect it. Can't guarantee you're going to get it, but you should absolutely expect it.
Admark says, thank you very much for the donation. My son is 15 years old. He's very sad about Tua. What do I say? I've been a fan since 1990. I'm sad every season, LOL. What you say is that Tua had some good years with the Dolphins. Ultimately, his time had run its course. It was better for him and for the franchise to part ways, let him continue somewhere else, and for the Dolphins to try to find a different answer at quarterback.
Yeah. Your son will get used to it. That's the business of the NFL. As he gets older, it's true. I used to be big. Like I remember when I was growing up. Oh my God, I sound so old. I was 15 like 10 years ago. I remember when I was that age, and like my favorite players would leave their favorite teams. It would upset me. But now, I mean, I've covered the game for the past 5 years now, so it's been my job, and that's desensitized me a ton. But he'll get used to it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Emilio says, this is for you. May I recommend Terry Black's for the best barbecue?
I went to Terry Black's the first night that I lived in Austin.
And
it was phenomenal. It was so good. It was so good. I will say, and this is a very controversial take in Texas, I do prefer Houston barbecue based on what I've had so far over Austin. But Terry Black's was very, very good. It really lived up to the hype. I think my favorite thing was actually the banana pudding was so good. I was so impressed with that. It was so good. But the ribs were great. I think I had brisket, ribs, green beans. I had a couple other sides I'm blanking on right now because, you got to get 3 sides minimum. That's just how it works. Phenomenal stuff. Really, really, really good. So, yes, Terry Black's lives up to the hype.
Okay, this is where I'm going to say something and then probably disappear from the screen.
No. I'm afraid.
Not a big barbecue fan. So.
Oh.
Noah said, are you hiring? I put out a post on social media on Friday. Yes, I am looking for contributors, freelancers. If you're interested, have good Dolphins knowledge and writing experience, serious inquiries only, you can email me at miamidolphinsi@yahoo.com. Ooh, you got the fan here, bro. Dolphin says, Dante the GOAT. You will be missed.
Sir. Thank you, sir. And like I said at the top, I'm not going to write about the Dolphins anymore. I got a Substack where that's all going to go, and it's free. You can check it out if you want. So I will miss all of you on the podcast, but I will be yapping about the Dolphins. I'm in too deep to not do that to some degree.
Jeff says, gotta hate rebuilds. Dolphins lost Dante and got zero value from it, and to the Cowboys of all teams. That's funny.
That's really funny. I don't think I'm worth much in a trade.
Oh, stop it. Mighty Dr. 82. I didn't like the Jackson or Igbo pick when it happened. I was okay with Tua because I assumed they did their diligence on his injury, but I wanted Herbert. No, I don't even want to go there.
No.
It's
No, I'll stay away from the quarterback. I had 3rd-round grades on Austin Jackson and Noah Igbenogany that year, so I did not like those picks either.
Austin Jackson was what happens when you draft for need, and
Yes, yeah,
there were 4 high-end, and they didn't all work out, but there were 4 high-end tackles in that draft: Tristan Wirfs, Jedrick Wills, Mekhi Becton, who has not panned out, and
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas, who actually was not good his first year, but has become a very, very good.
Yeah, him and Wirfs really worked out because Wills and Becton. I mean, Becton's had some okay years. He's good with the Eagles. Yeah.
And then the Dolphins were like, once they took Tua, then they were at 18, and all the good tackles were gone.
Yeah,
the high end, I should say, the upper echelon, and they forced the Austin Jackson pick. If I'm going to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Happily, Evelyn, will Achane demand a trade to a contender? I don't believe so, but he wants his money.
Maybe at the deadline, right? That's kind of when you start to get like, if they're like 1-7 at the deadline, maybe Achane's like, get me out of here. I'm just speculating, right?
Like, I don't know that he's
you don't think he's worried about it?
Not mode. I don't think he's in that mode right now. His concern is he wants his contract.
No, I don't blame him.
Richard says all the best, Dante. It's been a good ride.
Thank you.
Austin Jackson, another career bust.
I don't think he's a bust. He was a bust in the first couple of years for sure because he was terrible the first like 2-3 years. But I don't think he's like a bust because he's not a bad football player. I have a hard time calling bad football players a bust. An overdraft,
I agree.
Bad pick, sure. A bust, I don't know. Like bust to me is like this dude stinks, and I don't think Austin
Jackson Jordan's a bust.
Yeah.
Marcus Russell's a bust. Ryan Leaf's a bust.
Yes.
It's like Tua is. I refuse to call Tua a bust because
he's not a bust.
Years, so he's not a bust. But I'm not gonna. I can't call him a hit either. It was the 5th overall pick as a quarterback, and it wasn't good enough.
Right. No, I'm with you there for sure.
Steven says you can only F them picks when you have George Allen as a head coach. No one else compares to getting the most out of vets and few draft picks. How about Sean McVay and the Rams? They've gone F them picks and
they went F them picks back to collecting picks, and now they're back to F them picks. They've done the full circle, and one of what has been like one of the best team building clinics of the past 10 years. They hit on all their 3rd and 4th round picks. They get like serviceable players. It's crazy. They deserve a ton of credit in that building, man.
No, and then this offseason, it's like, well, their secondary was bad last year. Okay, fine. We'll trade for Trent McDuffie and we'll sign Jalen Watson as a free agent. Okay,
and they still have a 1st round pick, mind you.
Yeah, they do.
Which, like, man, wow,
some good work right there. Jeff says, review of the Waddle trade. This trade is good if you assume Waddle wasn't held back by terrible play calling the past 5 years, and the offense wasn't focused on pure Achane. Achane was McDaniel's crutch.
I'm not sure I understand the point.
It was good if you assume wasn't held back. Waddle wasn't held back by anything. I don't think Waddle is a high-end wide receiver. I'm sorry. Waddle's a good wide receiver. He's not an elite wide receiver. To get a 1 and a 3 for Jalen Waddle, yes, please.
I mean, I think the only thing he was held back by was the fact that Tyreek Hill was in front of him on the depth chart, essentially, right? Like it was just like, okay, we're going to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill, which I'm not saying was wrong, right? I'm just saying that for Jalen Waddle, right? Like that's just kind of how it went. We'll see. He's got a chance to show out in Denver. We'll see what happens.
Michelle. Mighty Doc 82 said Austin is not very good. He was a complete bust until his contract year.
No, that's fair. That's fair. He was terrible, and now he's not, though.
Sharon says, Jeff from Long Island, if Tua is healthy, watch him win a playoff game with the Falcons.
That would be deeply ironic for the Dolphins. That feels like something that would happen to Miami. I'm not going to lie.
I wouldn't count on it, but hey, more power to him if he does. No. Mike says, thanks for the great podcast, Dante. What about me? Jesus, am I not here? Sorry.
You're not leaving.
You'll be missed big time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
You will be missed. Sonic, like the Waddle trade, we got what we needed, picks, and got rid of salary cap in 27, 28. Keep working on salary cap and build through draft. Bingo.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, they're going to give you a really good value. You make the trade. I didn't want to trade Jalen Waddle, but I also didn't think they get a 1 and a 3 and a pick swap in 4 for him. So like, yeah, you make the deal if you get an offer you can't refuse.
Yep. Daniel says, "I'll miss you, Dante. Best of luck." I'm not being petty here. I'm throwing all the love that's coming your way.
Appreciate it.
I got to put this one here.
Mm.
Freedom for Fun Adventure says, "Today we found out Dante is a good for nothing quitter, just teasing. I believe he has been the most insightful of all who cover the Dolphins. And he does get joy out of blowing up segments like Omar."
Do I blow up segments? Is that what I do?
Blowing up segments. I don't understand what that means. So
I'll take it. It sounds like a compliment.
Funny,
so I'll take it. That was a good one.
Okay. Love you guys and thank you. No, there you go. That deserves one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not doing it. I hate when it. There
it goes.
How much would it cost to tag Brooks as opposed to giving him what he wants? You mean next year?
I can look up the LB franchise tag. So here's the thing. You can't really tag linebackers because they get meshed in with edge rushers. So if you Google LB franchise tag, it's $28 million because edge rushers are counted as linebackers. So they will not be franchise tagging George Brooks.
Here's a point that needs to be made. The day says no need to extend, make him play at $11 million. He's got 1 year left on his contract. The guy was going to want guaranteed money. Not saying that it's going to be an issue and he's going to hold in at some point, but he's going to, especially coming off of non-pro season.
And if you extend him, you can lower that 11 million number if you'd like. Just a thought. Not bad.
Jeff says, all you need to say as a Dolphin fan is I'm mic'd up at the end of the year with Brooks. Insane to let that dude walk in if he leaves. That says all I need to know about this management regime. No, Jeff, it's going to be about this. It's not because they don't like it's not going to be a statement on the player. It's going to be about priorities and where this team currently is. If the Dolphins were in a situation where they're middle of the road, but with a few things here or there, they can make a push. I don't think they think about trading Jordan Brooks. They're at the beginning of a rebuild.
Yeah.
With a linebacker coming off an all-pro season who's going to want big money. That's not a statement on Jordan Brooks if they wind up trading him. This is the part where you say he's absolutely right.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say agreed. That's it. I think you summarized it very well. There you go.
Yeah. If we keep Brooks, gets paid, we get at least third round pick, supplemental pick, right? No, I believe he's got void years on his contract, and those nullify compensatory picks. Jordan Brooks.
Do they? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Remember the whole thing with Cedric Wilson when the NFL told the Dolphins, or not the told, but they would release Dolphins would have a 7th round pick for Cedric Wilson, and then all of a sudden, whoops, they're not going to have a 7th round pick because it's a void year. So the void year thing, that's one of the downsides to it. So no, the Dolphins would not get a compensatory pick for Jordan Brooks. Good comparison to C-Mac. Yeah, except C-Mac's better. Sorry.
No, you're right. I don't disagree.
Steven, any player can only perform as a team around him. Walter Payton, Largent, Fouts, William Andrews, Billy Sims, the list goes on. All great players whose career meant nothing. Tell me what great the offensive line of the Detroit Lions and the quarterback and the receivers were when Barry Sanders was in the backfield. Barry Sanders was a phenomenal player because he was Barry Sanders, not because of the talent around him. So, no. Obviously, the more talent you have around you, the better, the easier it makes your job. But if you don't think there's a difference between players and some certain players don't need as much help around them to produce, I don't know what to tell you. And this was always my argument about Tua early on, and even when he was blowing it up in 2020 and 2023. Before that, what would we hear about Tua? His first couple of years. Okay, it's like he doesn't have receivers, he doesn't have the offense, the coach doesn't like him, the scheme sucks. Then Tyreek Hill and Waddle show up, and Mike McDaniel shows up, and they have all this speed, and he blows up, and it's like, what in this particular case, yeah, if everything around him is great, he could perform, but he's not somebody who elevated. And then when Tyreek Hill played through 2024, hurt most of the year, Tua again didn't elevate. You're going to tell me Josh Allen's talent level is great. There is some talent on the offense. Watch their games and see how much of the heavy lifting he does himself. It's not the same for every player.
Yeah. That's why when we do NFL draft takes, right, we're always talking about how big somebody is, how fast they run, right? Like, because we're trying to find those players who transcend what is around them at every position. We're trying to find that. Now, the traits that you scout at each position can change, right? Like at safety, I'm less concerned about how fast somebody runs and I'm more interested in their football IQ. How do they decipher what the offense is doing? So it changes from position to position, but there are players at every position in the sport who transcend the talent around them and elevate their group. Now, obviously at quarterback, when you see that at quarterback, it's like, holy crap, right? Like that's the biggest impact that a player can make. And that's why when we talk about draft prospects, we talk about that stuff because we're looking for those players. And to your point, I think even I was very much on the banging the drum that the Dolphins playmakers were not good enough for Tua or that the scheme was terrible, but it wasn't because I thought Tua was a secretly an elite quarterback. It was because those things were bad and that they needed to get better. And so, and it helped Tua. And I think Tua is a good quarterback. Nothing more, nothing less. He's gone now. It's Malik Willis's job for at least this season.
Yeah, and listen, Stephen, there is. I want to backtrack for a second here. There is some validity to what you say because in certain instances, you have certain players benefit from what they have around him. And this might be blasphemous to somebody, but I'll give you two running backs, for example, Terrell Davis and Emmitt Smith, who greatly benefited from playing behind great offensive line and great favorable schemes, whose production maybe was skewed a little bit according to their talent because of those situations. But it's also undeniable that there's certain players who will transcend and go above and beyond what should be expected. And the gauge to me is always, okay, put player A into player B's offense and let's compare the results. And this is why part of it that was done with Tua and Herbert early in their career. It's like, put Herbert on the Dolphins for the past 6 years. What do the results look like? And I'll let you guys answer that one. I'm not doing it. And then put Tua on the Chargers and tell me what their results look like. And again, you all can have fun with that one. I'm not taking it. But that to me, this would be how and obviously with some tweaks here or there because there's certain things that Tua does better than Herbert and things that Herbert does better than Tua. So obviously every offense is going to be tweaked toward the player. But this is like you put Barry Sanders behind those Dallas offensive lines or those Denver offensive lines. Woo! Damn. Because I'm sorry, there's not a better running back I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I'm not even sure it's close. That guy would look at some of his highlights. The guy would make 5 guys miss by the time he reached the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Frank says, been a Dolphin fan since 1970. Guys, I've seen a lot of great players. I have a good feeling about Malik. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. You got me beat. My first Dolphin game was 1971, Christmas Day Classic against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Beat you by a year.
Yep, beat me by a year. This Halfley will show how bad Mike was. Mike was a very, very good offensive mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think where Jeff is gonna hopefully be an improvement over Mike is not so much in like scheme and more so in locker room management and game management and more like big picture CEO type stuff. Yeah, right. Like, can you change? Can you be a little more adaptable, or is it we still can't get lined up for 4 years, right? So I think
that's overblown. No, I'm sorry, that's overblown.
No, I mean it is what it is, right? Like it was a small issue, right? But my point more so is that I don't know that Jeff's going to come in and revolutionize defense the way that Mike came in and revolutionized offense, but that isn't really what I think they're trying to get out of Jeff Hafley. At least that's my guess.
No, and then there were two sides of the McDaniel issue on podcasts from former players. Raheem Mostert, who, by the way, has beef with McDaniel because he didn't like the way he was treated in his last year because Mike didn't tell him he was going to bench him because Raheem started sucking and Achane was out playing him bad. So his playing time was going to dwindle, and Mike didn't tell him. Maybe he could have, maybe he should have. But anyway, he said that basically McDaniel's leadership style wasn't good enough. He didn't hold the players accountable. And then Jarvis Landry, by the way, one of my favorite Dolphin players of recent years, was like, poppycock, BS, whatever you want to say, players need to hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
So, and there's something to be said there. And this is why you make sure you get the right guys. And there are certain guys, do not get guys who are more about themselves than they are about the team. So,
yeah.
Chelsea. Let's see here. We're about to wrap it up here. We're going past an hour. And Steven says, sadly, I predict we won't win a playoff game while Ross is alive and not enter a stupid bowl until the Ross family sells the team. The Ross family will not sell the team. The one who's going to be running it more and more is Daniel Silman, his son-in-law, but he has shown no interest whatsoever in selling the team.
I don't know why these people think that, like, Steve, I can say this now that I'm no longer covering the Dolphins as my job after today, but like, this idea that Stephen Ross is like this just, terrible owner is just very strange to me. I don't know. I'm not saying he's been perfect or that he didn't make mistakes early in his owner career. But if you look at like the past, I don't know, like 5-6 years, I mean, all the guy does is sign checks. It doesn't cause any problems. He's constantly upgrading the stadium and they're constantly first on the NFLPA report cards for facilities and players that like the team and all this stuff. I mean, he takes swing after swing at head coaches, and obviously, should he have fired Chris Greer sooner? Yeah, probably. I'm not saying he's perfect, but like, man, dude, like there are some owners out there who are like actively problematic every single year. And like Stephen Ross, he just signs checks and we never hear from him. And I got to be honest, that's my preferred owner. I hope every owner of the team that I cover or root for operates, roughly speaking, like Stephen Ross, because he just signs checks and I never hear from him, and that would be my preference for an owner personally.
Yeah, and he's just not hired the right people more often than not, and hopefully he got it right with John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley. Dana says, thank you for the donation. Dana says, adding void years adds to the franchise tag. I'd have to look into that. I'm not
sure about that either. Yeah, not sure.
Let's see. It's funny. Miami to Durham, Allen. You don't want to be the next Neil Rogers with phone calls? No. Of course. Dante, do you have any clue who Neil Rogers is?
I do not.
Okay, let me enlighten you and those who are not familiar. Neil Rogers was a long-time radio talk show host in South Florida who was known for being could get very smarmy, snarky with the callers. Not above ridiculing the callers. Then no, even though I can't say there's a part of me that was like, ooh, no. I'm trying to be the bigger person. I'm older and mature now, so I don't do that.
There we go.
Randy Rogers, thank you very much for the donation. With our distractions like South Beach, should we avoid single unattached players?
You cannot. You cannot.
You cannot what?
You cannot avoid single unattached players.
You're going to be losing a lot of good players. And there's a certain person on the beat. Omar is very big on this notion that South Beach is a killer for the Dolphins. But I don't know. Are we really going to suggest that playing in LA is much less of an issue in terms of potential, nightlife distractions, or Dallas or Houston? They're not like. I mean, I don't know. Seems weird to me.
I agree. Yeah.
Hold on here. What do we have here? Okay. Dana scolding me. Dana, Terrell was a beast in multiple situations. Poop. Yes, personally, he was a headache, but stop it. Terrell, what are you talking about? See, now I'm confused. What are you talking about? I am completely confused now. Because the Terrell I mentioned was Terrell Davis. Yes,
Was he a
person.
headache?
No, I don't understand. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
now I'm confused. I am confused. Steven says Allen's a great player. We're going to wrap it up here. I'm going through these. Allen's a great player, but his career is nothing till he gets a ring. Oh my God! By the
Josh
way,
Allen's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, just so you'll know, Steven, Dan Marino was asked after the fact, if you had to do it all over again, would you trade your Hall of Fame jacket for a Super Bowl ring? He said, hell no. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Just like Steven Sanders' career meant nothing because it never brought a ring. Steven, love you, buddy, but are you forgetting this is a team game? There's 11 players on the field at all times. One player does not. The same the U.S. Open tennis tournament. One player cannot control the outcome, affect the outcome of a game like that. It doesn't work like that. Sorry.
Yeah. We're still talking about Barry Sanders. He retired in the 90s? And we're still talking about him in 2026.
Yeah.
Like,
and
his career meant a lot. Like, we're still yapping about him on a podcast.
Super Bowl, no Super Bowl, probably still to me the best, best running back of all time. So anyway, we shall see. I want to find one to end on a good note because, there's one. Here you go. Digest was great, even ordered in college. Thank you, Mark. Let's give you a shout out on Dante. Here we go. There we go. Jeff, appreciate you, Dante. Always make sure you spam links out in the comments for us without the Twitters. Okay.
Okay. I can do that real quick before we leave.
Alan, are you dieting? You look thinner. How you doing it? Yeah, I'm not eating terribly a ton lately. That's kind of mostly portion control. Portion control. When I have my eggs in the morning, I have 2 eggs now instead of 3 all the time. That makes a difference.
That'll do it.
71, was it in black and white?
Oh my gosh.
The answer to that, I don't remember. It's too long ago.
Oh my God.
On that note, we're gonna wrap it up. We're going on an hour and 7.
Yeah.
Dante, my man, it's been real. You will be missed.
Thank you.
Always knew you were going places, and obviously it's all because of the the great mentorship that I provided.
Of course. But seriously, it's been awesome. Thank you for all the opportunities the past 4 years. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a blast to be able to write about the team, talk about the team. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
You've gotten whatever you deserved, and I told you a long time ago when I met you, you were going places regardless of what you were going to do. So best of luck in your future endeavors. I do hope you pop in as a guest on the podcast moving forward.
We'll figure it out.
For everyone, that's going to wrap it up. We'll maybe back tomorrow, depending on whether there's news to cover. We're probably going to be going more on a irregular basis, but we'll ramp it up before the draft season kicks into high gear when we get into April. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe, share all that good stuff. And we're available on audio podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, except for live shows. So thanks, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us and for all the comments. Enjoyed it as always. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And Dante, final hat tip to you, my friend.